Gretchen Morgenson, Reckless Endangerment, How Outsized Ambition, Greed, and Corruption Led to Economic Armageddon. Embark on a journey into the world of greed and corruption that led to the 2008 economic disaster in this summary of Reckless Endangerment by Gretchen Morgenson. Discover how Fannie Mae and its CEO James A. Johnson transformed the mortgage market through relaxed lending practices and relentless lobbying efforts. The book also examines the rise of subprime lending, the consequences of mortgage-backed securities, and the dangerous consequences of deregulation in the financial industry. With a focus on the driving forces behind the housing bubble, the influence of the Clinton administration, and the complicity of Wall Street, this summary offers a compelling and insightful look at the devastating collision of ambition, greed, and corruption that resulted in economic Armageddon.
Fannie Mae's quest for profits. In 1994, Fannie Mae, under CEO James A. Johnson, initiated the National Partners in Homeownership Agency to increase homeownership in the U.S. Fannie Mae relaxed requirements on down payments, pursued untried ventures like mortgage insurance, retained lobbyists, and picked board members for political reasons. Johnson collaborated on the National Partners Program, and private institutions eased their requirements for minority borrowers. Financial institutions pooled these subprime loans into mortgage-backed securities. However, concerned about these burgeoning subprime lenders taking too big a bite out of Fannie Mae's pie, Johnson formed a business alliance with loan issuer Countrywide Financial. Under his stewardship, Fannie Mae established partnerships to maintain its influence and reach and became a major contributor to political candidates and organizations. Fannie Mae's controversy. Fannie Mae, the government-sponsored enterprise, received criticism about not aiding American homeowners despite plowing in all gains towards the mission. The Congressional Budget Office, CBO, commissioned a report in 1995, stating that Fannie and Freddie only provided two-thirds of the billions in benefits to borrowers. Even though the director recommended reconsidering the special relationship with Fannie and Freddie, Congress chose not to privatize due to intense lobbying, and the subprime market continued to grow. The rise and fall of subprime mortgages. In the mid-1990s, subprime mortgages became popular and Wall Street provided companies with warehouse lines of credit, allowing subprime lenders to make more loans. The 1999 repeal of the Glass-Steagall Act led to banks being able to manage both loan-making and securities trading. Basel Committee on Banking Supervision lowered the capital set-asides on highly rated asset-backed securities from 50% to 20%. Ratings agencies like Standard & Poor's, Moody's and Fitch played a significant role in determining the risk weights banks assessed. Congress failed to change its oversight, even though lawmakers attempted to put the brakes on subprime mortgages. The rise and fall of the housing bubble. The book's section discusses the events that led to the housing bubble burst in 2008, focusing on the fraudulent practices of big banks such as Fannie and Novastar. In the early 2000s, the United States witnessed a rapid increase in the mortgage frenzy. Big banks, including Fannie and Novastar, devised fraudulent schemes to finance and sell risky loans. Fannie engaged in accounting chicanery with the help of Goldman Sachs, violating every known accounting tenet to create artificial earnings. Novastar, on the other hand, remitted most of its profits to shareholders in the form of dividends instead of worrying about the quality of its loans. While the rate of homeownership in the U.S. stood at around two-thirds, and trillions of dollars in loans were issued just that year, observers were beginning to raise questions about taxpayer liability if Fannie were to crash. Countrywide, the leading lender to minorities, was also charging them higher rates to make more money instead of fulfilling its previous goal of rubbing out discrimination. Sadly, regulators failed to intervene as they didn't understand the intricacies of companies like Novastar. The SEC turned a blind eye while the charade continued until 2007, when Novastar suffered a massive loss of $370 million, eventually giving up its New York Stock Exchange listing. Millions of borrowers undermined their best forced savings plan of owning a home outright, with no mortgage at all. This book section highlights the greed and scandalous practices of big banks that led to the housing bubble crash in 2008. It also reminds us of the importance of transparency and ethical practices in the financial industry. The collapse of the mortgage industry. The book describes how the mortgage industry collapsed in 2008, resulting in millions of Americans drowning in debt. Experts, including former Fed Chairman Alan Greenspan, praised the bubble's positive effects, and some economists even declared that there was no bubble at all. The New York Fed published a paper arguing that low interest rates would save the day but neglected to mention the billions of dollars borrowers had extracted from their homes to buy short-term goods. Enron-esque financial institutions moved more and more assets off their balance sheets, and Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac's tremendous growth finally became too much for many analysts. By 2008, Fannie and Freddie were placed in conservatorship. The mortgage machinery forced insiders to issue an increasing number of loans to feed the voracious demand for seemingly safe but lucrative mortgage securities, driving home prices so high that would-be buyers were priced out of the market. In an attempt to keep the wheels spinning, Wall Street turned to collateralized debt obligations, CDOs, and wire loans, which did not require home buyers to show any income documentation. Ultimately, the industry could not keep up with its blistering pace, and it collapsed, leading to the financial meltdown of September 2008.
Reckless endangerment brings to light the dark underbelly of the American financial system, exposing how the pursuit of wealth overrode all sense of ethics or responsibility. Mortgage companies preyed on the dreams of homeownership, all while the government and the powerful elite actively perpetuated an unstable housing market. Despite efforts by whistleblowers and some lawmakers to stem the tide, intense lobbying efforts and a lack of accountability allowed these practices to continue unimpeded. The disastrous aftermath of the 2008 economic meltdown, in which millions lost their homes and jobs, was ultimately the result of unchecked greed and utter disregard for the long-term consequences. This chilling account serves as a stark reminder of the perils of turning a blind eye to rampant financial misconduct and prioritizing profit over the public's well-being.